So I'm out for another wander. And, I'm in Stevington in Bedfordshire, which is a little village that we've been staying in an Airbnb for the last week since we came back from Southeast Asia. And it's a famous, well, the village is famous for this windmill. Quite a quaint scene. You can see it's misty today. It's actually drizzly. If I was in Cornwall, I'd call it mizzle, but seeing as we're in Buckinghamshire, I'll just call it misty and a bit of drizzle. But I was thinking about that line in the Keats poem, and that goes, "When I have fears that I may cease to be, before my pen has gleamed my teeming brain." I think I may be wrong, but that's the gist of it. And I struggle big time with that concept of, am I doing enough? Am I doing the right thing? As time continues on its relentless path. Sit on this bench, old Ian's bench. It's got a nice little engraving of a canal boat on it as well. So Ian was obviously a fan of the canals. Yeah, what next? What's really interesting is we've been in Southeast Asia for 5 months. We decided that we'd come back to the place that we were born and grew up, and we've been here for nearly 2 weeks now, in a beautiful setting. Honestly, we're renting a little annex on the side of a couple's or a family's beautiful house, and you've got this just behind with the windmill and the fields, and you know it's May, so although the weather's pretty crappy now, it's been a beautiful few weeks, you know, reconnecting with old friends. It's nearly a year to the day since we got married in Cornwall. But yeah, on days like this I kind of tend to wake up and have a bit of a slump, really, mental slump, and walking really helps. Planning to go and do a 10k run later with my friend Max, and that will really help, and you might have seen my other video about that. But yeah, it's an interesting one when it comes to what to do next. My business Onwards Adventure Vehicles that I own with my friend Duncan has basically been mothballed since October last year, and we've just been in discussion for a long time about what to do with that. I'm waiting to sign a new book contract, which is exciting, but also quite stressful until you've actually signed on the dotted line. And I'm aware that this probably sounds like quite a negative video, but I tell you what, I'm going to carry on walking because I find that I can get my thoughts out a lot easier when I'm walking rather than sitting still. It's funny, actually, you've probably seen me record in the car as well, and also I find that when the sort of unconscious part of me is focused on another task, then I can get my thoughts out a lot easier. But yeah, so what's the theme of this one? So there's a history of bipolar in my family, and quite sadly suicide as well. And what's really interesting is on these days where I find that I can't really work out what I want to do, and you know, maybe the plan that I might have laid down in the months or weeks before doesn't really feel like the right one for me, or for us, myself and my wife Lauren. You know, I have this little niggle in the back of my mind, sort of, you know, because bipolar is extremely heritable, and I've got 3 older sisters, and yeah, I worry. I guess I worry if it is. Well, if I'm normal in that respect, which is so funny to say. And I usually sort of scoff at people that use mental health as an excuse, but it's just I guess actually the easiest way to think about it is my mood today is reflecting the weather. You know, that's the simplest way of thinking about it. The most trivial thing is I miss my little 125 scooter. that we had in Thailand, because I'd get up and I'd get on that little thing to go get us coffees or breakfast, and it was enough just to sort of kickstart the day, you know. They're pretty scary little things, those 125s, and the old twist and goes. And, you know, traffic in Southeast Asia is pretty manic at the best of times, but it was enough just to get me a little dopamine boost, you know. And then on days like this, where I'm 300 miles away from our workshops, exploring the possibility of setting up workshops here, is that the right thing? Should we commit to that? Have we just come back as sort of an experiment to see how much we've changed and how much the place that we grew up in has changed? You know, none of our families live here anymore. Lauren's family have moved away. My family have moved away. But we are really lucky to have an amazing group of friends that are still based here. And God, how lucky are we, you know? It's so funny. How lucky are we to have this beautiful place that to grow up in. So very thankful for that. But you know, this is just a chance to think about what's next and try and work out what's the most important factor. You know, what I find about travelling is it comes with its whole host of challenges, but it gives a sort of energy, and I've spoken about this before and don't want to sort of speak about it ad nauseum, but it does, you know, being it sort of a channel for that just like base level fear. God, here I am talking about fear again, sort of waffling, but I guess that's the whole point of this whole exercise, is sharing in an authentic way. And you hear the ums and the ahs and you knows and the likes and all the quirks, and can't hide behind the coolness of an Instagram post, you know, which is really important. I think that I wanted to talk about that, about the reason why I'm doing these sort of more honest blogs. It's just because there's nowhere to hide, and it's a bit of a relief, if I'm honest, because putting stuff out there that sort of elevates your status in the eyes of other people, it's pretty exhausting after a while, to be honest with you. When you end up meeting those people in real life, you know, they have a bit of a distorted view of who you are, and, you know, a bit of an artificially elevated idea of who you are. So, you know, I guess there's always a level of disappointment there, and that might be projection on my part, but, you know, I think you perceive the world in the way that you expect to see it. So you can't really ever escape that. And trying to work out what's next. I got an email from the guy David, whose Airbnb we stayed at for 10 weeks in Chiang Mai in Thailand, and just a random email this morning with a picture of the sign that he'd hand drawn with chalk on the wall as you enter his sort of compound. He's a lovely guy, and his wife Campy, like, just great people. I guess we became sort of friends in the time that we stayed there. But he'd actually finally painted over the chalk, you know, made it permanent. And it's an interesting one, because that came about because there's some lovely typography in that sign. And I just said to him one day, you know, was that you, David, that did that sign? And he's like, yeah, you know, he just did it on the random. And then we started a conversation about graphic design and sort of my degree and his appreciation. And I mean, he's in his sort of mid-70s, which is really interesting. There's actually a joke in my family that all of my friends are old dudes. I just seem to make friends with old chaps, which, I don't know, maybe I've got an old spirit, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's an interesting one. My sisters have always taken the piss in that respect. Maybe. Yeah. There's a misty Buckinghamshire. Just past some ramblers, and the last lady said, "Oh, sorry, bit of traffic," and yeah, best type of traffic. So I had to just pause there. love this bit because it's just fields. Look at that. Bit of rain coming across the fields there. It's funny actually, I also stopped because there's still a little bit of embarrassment about carrying on this camera and talking to it, you know. And oh my god, what are these random people that I don't even know going to think of me? It's such a silly thing to hold on to, is that. But status is so key, isn't it? Status is something that is, the loss of status is devastating. And I probably felt that in my life. The loss of status. It maybe just exists in your own mind, the idea of status, you know. It doesn't really have too much of a bearing. It might be in your job, in your career, in your relationships, in your family, you know, in the queue to the coffee shop, I don't know. Yeah. What's next? What's the right path? Where are you happiest? Where are you most content? Where are you most challenged? You know, those might overlap, but probably aren't the same place. This actually, I really like the idea of journaling. I've heard that loads in books and podcasts, and you know, smart people saying, you know, this is the way that you should be living. And I tried journaling, but it hasn't really worked for me. But actually, this probably is the closest I'm going to come to journaling. It's just a talking to this camera and not being too worried about what the consequences are. Not being too worried about if you're watching this and you're interested. But actually, I've had some varied and interesting experiences in my lifetime, and that's probably the best thing that I could share here. And I'm going to try and do that actually. You know, so that if I'd love the idea that if I'd found this when I was in my late teens or 20s, and I'd watched it through, then maybe I could have learned something. Maybe there's an arrogance there as well, but need to stop caveating everything with a sort of get out clause and just sort of state my name on it and say, look, this is who I am, this is what I look like, these are the faults, these are the hypocrisies, these are the blind spots, and see if this practice can be beneficial for me. The hilarious thing actually as well, I'm going to say, is this tiny little DJI Pocket Cam is like in itself a humbling experience, because when I used to do filmmaking and photography professionally, you'd always strive, particularly as sort of like young and naive, you'd always strive to new, better, bigger equipment. Actually, the funny thing is they're just safety blankets. They're just a place to hide. You know, it's the reason why. Well, actually, no. If I get a bigger, better camera, then this fear that I'm feeling, and like the challenge of whether it's documentary filmmaking or, you know, commissions for clients, that type of thing, will be easier. And the great thing about this camera is just there's just nowhere to hide. It's small so that you can film other people and they're not really too aware of it, so it doesn't really change the situation and they can relax, you know. So I guess there's a slyness involved in that. But it's humbling, you know. Outwardly it doesn't look like you're some big high-flying professional filmmaker. And it's a camera that I bought so that I could film these type of 2-camera pieces in the Onwards workshop. But actually, where am I at with this? I just had a coffee and my it kind of puts you on a mad one. Okay, so I want to say the purpose of all of these new videos on my YouTube is so that I can overcome the challenge of being authentic. That's the easiest way I can put it. You know, this is me. There's no filters, there's no curating of what you see and what you don't see. Well, obviously there is going to be a level of that, to a degree, just because I can't carry the camera around 24/7. But you know, the humbling thing is all these videos are going to probably sit on like 20 views, and most of them will be me. People I know. But yeah, there is a reason behind all of these videos. Chance to be authentic, and there's something really devastating about when you put tons of effort into something and you make some real polished cinematic video, and again, it doesn't get too many likes, and that's the metric by which you're judging it, which I've never been able to escape. You can realign that, but yeah, it's just a chance to be more authentic, share who I am, share who I am, and see what the consequences of that will be. Again, that Keats poem. So there's an interesting concept that I heard on Chris Williamson's podcast, Modern Wisdom, about, would you consume your own content? And I thought about that. It's like, I don't really watch edgy cinematic short videos, particularly on YouTube. The videos that I watch are, people rebuilding like wooden boats, and like Leo at Tally Ho, or some guys in the UK that are just, they set the camera up, they tinker away, they're pretty open about the challenges, about when it goes wrong, and you sort of learn through them too. And they're the videos that I actually watch, so they're the videos that I want to create. And it's a new chapter and a new challenge, so I hope you stick around and see how this develops. And the biggest challenge for me is just consistency, and not getting sort of bored with it, and not having aspirations of becoming rich or famous off of it. Just sharing these experiences. And then also, the amazing thing is, in 10 years' time, I'll discover these videos, I'll listen to myself, and I'll probably cringe a little bit, but also be like, wow, that's just a great documentation of where I was at that time. We might still be here, or we might be somewhere that we haven't even contemplated yet, and that's an amazing thing to track. And so basically, this is a video journal, I guess, in that respect. So I'm going to wander back, do the washing up, answer some emails, try and see what the next week or two is going to look like in terms of work and for us personally, and I'll record as much of that as possible. So see you soon.